Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we are looking at things that you have tagged me in online. Please excuse my blush situation. I was trying something new and it looks terrible on me. If you want to tag me in anything you see on TikTok or Instagram, you're probably better off sending it to me in a message, because a lot of people block me when they see they've been tagged, when I've been tagged in their stuff. But as I always like to say in these videos, creativity and individuality have no rules, but makeup has a theory, and this video is looking at things we see online and taking a look at the makeup theory behind them. Do we agree? Do we disagree? What's going on? So if you're not already, follow me on Instagram. It's at RobertWLSH, and TikTok, which is, I'll leave it here on the screen, I can't remember. Let's take a look at this first one. This is from the brand Wonder Skin, and the comment says, "I can't believe this, it lasts through anything." And the person in the video here has drawn a pencil liner, which is what they're advertising, eyeliner, down the middle of the tongue to demonstrate how it is going to grip to her tongue, the wettest part of the mouth, and not be there, right? And it's just putting her eye and saying, well, listen, if it lasts on my tongue, I'm rubbing it like this, then of course it's going to sit on my eye. A few things that is an issue with this test, right? She's also demonstrating it on the arm and showing how it's not going to come off. 100% there are eyeliners that really do last on the lash line and, you know, don't fade and water doesn't take them off. That's great, and this looks like it lasts the test of time with that. However, the reason this isn't the best test in the world is because you have 3 different areas that all act differently over time. Oh, I don't have liner on my eye. That's fine. The tongue is a lot more, I think porous is the wrong word. Yeah, that made me feel sick. It has bumps on the surface. So there's a lot more to grip to, right, in terms of a makeup product. There's a lot more areas to get into, to dive into, to sit into. Makeup's going to sit there a lot longer. The waterline is not. And you can put something down there and it will sit for a great period of time. However, it's going to act a bit differently than the tongue. It's not porous, so there's nothing really to grip onto it. So the product may set for a while. Your eyes might water throughout the day, you know? It's not the same surface. Again, on skin, it's porous, of course it's going to grip. So that's not the best test. The pencil looks great, don't get me wrong, but that's not a valid test. So let's stop doing these crappy tests for products. It needs to be a fair comparison.
I'm going to say something now that's going to piss off so many people, makeup artists included. If you use concealer on your client as an eyeshadow base, what the fuck are you doing? Concealers are made to be flexible on the skin. They're not made with the idea in mind that it's going to lock in any oils. So that concealer, even though you're going to set it, you're going to put products on top of it to make it matte, it's not going to stick. So you're going to get creasing, you're going to get blotchiness, it's going to look fucking awful. And plus there's too much moisture in concealer, okay? So when is it good to use a concealer on your eyelids? So never really. The only sort of like exceptional circumstances, if you've got dry eyelids and or if you're just using it as a little tiny bit. But even still, longevity ain't a thing if you're using concealer on your eyes, babes. Instead, get yourself the MAC paint pots. Never done me any dirty. Your makeup lasts for hours, loads of shades. 12-hour wear, bitch.
I added this one myself because I saw this a few weeks back. Josh, great artist, great advice. Listen, even if you do wear concealer on your eyelids and you're like, yeah, this really lasts on me. If you are a makeup artist, and sorry, I have so much eyeshadow sitting under my eye. Can you see that? Like, I can literally smudge it out. If you are a makeup artist and you are even taking the risk of using a product like concealer on a client's eyelids, I think it's unprofessional, to be honest with you. I think there's going to be that person who it's not going to last a long time on. It's not going to look good. It's going to crease. There's no reason for you to have to do that. As was said in this video, concealer is made to move. Concealer is made to move with the texture of the skin, with the movement of the skin. So when you're blinking and you've got creases in here, it's going to move with that socket. It's going to move with the lid. MAC Paint Pot, great as an eyeshadow primer. You all know I love the Sigma eyeshadow primers. They're a little bit drier, so if you do have drier lids, that's not the best option to go for. You can warm it up in your hand or tap it in. Eyeshadow primers are so incredible. If you are not using an eyeshadow primer at the moment and you are using concealer, just try an eyeshadow primer. I think it will really change your thoughts in what you're doing. You may have to get used to reblending because the surface of concealer is gonna really move the eyeshadow quite a lot, whereas a primer is gonna grip a little bit more. But the color's gonna come out better. It's not gonna have that weird damp, dark look to it. Yeah.
This is the quickest way to get rid of smile lines. Grab a cotton tip and use a lot of pressure and remove all the product in the smile lines, and then take your foundation brush, whatever's left over on it, no extra product, and just buff the line away. Make sure you use enough pressure and the line should completely disappear.
Let me tell you why I love this. A lot of people's answer to getting rid of smile lines online is to add more product. Add more powder, add more foundation, put the newer one, put a highlighter down and then put powder on it, and then put your concealer on and then put powder on. No, this is the answer. Less. It's easier to repair. Like you just saw in this video, how quick is that to repair it? If you're out there in the wild, and the smile lines happen, you can just do a little wipe, tap, 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 tap. So much easier to repair, and it still looks even on the skin, even if you want a full coverage look with full coverage makeup. Less is more in that area that is heavily creasing on you. That's gonna have a lot of movement. You're smiling, you're doing this, maybe you're doing this. You know? Love that. I love that. This is good. This is good today. Oh no. It just got bad. Okay.
I'm Dr. Charles, a dermatologist, and let's talk about blush today, the science of beauty, or where to place blush so it doesn't look like you have rosacea.
First of all, you can put blush here without it looking like rosacea. Let me just say, dermatologists, unless you are trained in makeup artistry, what you are doing to the skin in terms of treatments is different to how makeup sits on the skin. Let's get into it.
I find the history
I have a whole video on this.
blush to be super interesting. It's really meant to convey like a youthful presence, and so placing it is critically important. I'm flying back home today, so let's do a little bit of placing it is critically important. I find the history of blush to be super interesting. It's really meant to convey like a youthful presence, and
yes, that's true. The history of blush is very fascinating, and it is meant to convey a youthful presence. Back in the day, now it's meant to give you. Now it can give you lift. It can give you youth. It can give you cold. It can give you sunburn. It can give you whatever you want. So again, it depends on what you want. Back in the day, the period that he is referring to, this is Queen Elizabeth I on screen. Her blush was actually down here. Her blush was placed here because that was the time of that was the trend of blush. You would easily just get your hands and do this, and it would add this blush to this area. It was just what was preferred back then. A little bit further up, a little bit down. It wouldn't be up here or up here.
placing it is critically important. I'm flying back home today, so let's do a little bit of pre-flight makeup. You want for blush, you want to be just below the pupil at the meaty part of the eye. I know it's higher than you would think. I'm drawing all over myself for you guys, but essentially you want to make a triangle from under the pupil right there up here, kind of like an isosceles triangle, and that's where the ideal look.
Okay, can you see what that instantly does to this area of skin? It's pulling it forward. That's what blush does, because our eyes are focusing on color, right? If you have some gray like this, it's pushing it backwards because it's darker. That's how light works. Bright comes forward, dark goes backwards. Shadow. So you can see immediately that actually looks like a bit of a, you know, when you get your eyebrows waxed and they accidentally take off the skin because you've been using like an eye cream you shouldn't have been using the day before you're waxing. That's what that looks like. But it's raised this area here. So if you want this area under your eye here raised, then absolutely. A lot of people don't want this area under their cheeks raised because it gives plump, which I personally really like. That's not necessarily where you should apply your blush. Blush is something you apply that will achieve a certain look depending where and at the angle you apply it.
Is for blush. Now, of course, there's going to be some variation, but this is if you're
a lot of variation, a lot.
For a place to start for where to go for blush. That's it. All right, let's blend it. And that's the blend. I'll see.
No, I wouldn't recommend that, especially for his face shape as well. We kind of want to move it around here a bit more.
Next time for us.
Yeah, it's not much of anything. And also, I mean, it defeats the triangle purpose if you're actually going to blend it down here further, which he has. I mean, if we look at the shape that he had before, the importance in that isn't necessarily where you've placed it, it's also where you've blended it to, because makeup is going to move when you blend it and the color's going to spread out evenly, right? Unless you tap and focus it in one area. So that's not the best when it comes to blush placement. Facial plastic surgeon contour tutorial. Again, plastic surgery, cosmetic surgery is not the same as makeup application, but let's go.
Ben Coughlin here, facial plastic surgeon. I'm going to show you how and why we contour the face. There's kind of my zygoma peak. So you start right under or right at the zygoma peak, and then generally something along those lines to kind of start, right? So you want a broader base out here, and then you...
This is already better that he's referring to a bone or a muscle. I don't know what that is. I'm not a cosmetic surgeon, a plastic surgeon, in his own bone structure, so then people can compare the bone structure to this, right? Would I do this shape for his face shape in terms of makeup? No.
Want to taper it down along the jawline, just under the jawline, back up, and even to bring it up, this is what I call the triangle of Coughlin. So a little.
So again, if we're looking at him personally as a face, and I was a makeup artist, I would not contour the jaw because you're really harshing that out. And this is quite a wide space between his eye, his jawline, his ear, and his mouth. That is a lot of room, right? So we are making it even longer by adding definition to this. This is nice because it's going to fill in this area. I would personally angle it a little. I would bring it down a little bit more here and angle it a little bit upwards. And I would actually bring this downwards. So he's contouring his natural cheekbone, which you absolutely can do. But I find a lot of the time as makeup artists, ow, fuck. Sorry. We use contour to alter the face shape, right? And to level it out. That's what we're trying to do, to even it out and eventually make room for more makeup. So I would actually fill in some of this area down here by swooping the contour down slightly, giving this a nicer shape, and then filling in some of this vast area here, because this man has jaw for days.
But this is the goal, right? We want to see a nice peak there, a little bit of a valley here.
Okay, let's look at this lady's face here. So yes, they've given her a nice sharp contour here. But can you see what I mean by her blush has actually come down further, filling in this area and softening it up? Her contour, where he's doing it, should really be about here if we're lining it up with the edge of our nose with this here. But that would be slightly too high, so then you're left with a big jaw, which is nice. I like a big jaw. But again, we're leveling it out.
Straight peak along the jawline typically, and then a sharp valley under. We've all seen those big transitions people do with the makeup tutorials. You can really change somebody's face with makeup. You can also really change it with surgery. So surgically, the buccal fat actually, it kind of goes like this. The base circles up into the temple. So surgically, I contour it from the base down towards the commissure. So very
surgically. And you know what I always say? Facial contours that are naturally from your bone structure is always going to change with shadow and lighting, right? Makeup is a solid color. It is a solid, always there color. So you can see the color doesn't change that much when I move my head, whereas the glow on my skin, the way light is acting with my facial structure does change. So if I was to put down red, it's always going to be a tone of red that's always there. So if we're contouring with product, you have to bear in mind that the product is always going to be visible depending what lighting, no matter what lighting you're in. I could hold a torch over my head and my facial bone structure, the shadows that causes, will change. The makeup is always going to be in that place. Does that make sense?
Similarly, you know, there's benefits to the makeup, there's benefits to the surgery. You just got to kind of decide where you're at with your goals and how much money and downtime. And, you know, you got to spend money on Makeup by Mario also, so.
Don't get the Maybelline Super Fixing Whatever spray. This is what happens. You can see all the hair on my face, and I barely have any. You can see all the hair. It accentuates all the hair on your face under light.
I mean, she's right. A few things though. This alcohol that will be used in a product like that is denatured alcohol or alcohol denant. It turns up denant. you know what I mean? It shows up a lot, which is an alcohol that's immediately evaporates on your skin. It's just kind of there to help in a few different things. It's not like pouring alcohol in your face to a point where it ages you too much. The reason you can see all the hairs is a few different reasons, right? It could be makeup application. Well, it's definitely the spray. We'll get into that in a minute. It could be makeup application. If you have peach fuzz or even the finest hairs in your face, if you're using a brush like this, for any reason, for any layer of your makeup, or a puff or a sponge, it picks the hairs up and makes them raise more, right? Whereas wiping downwards or wiping motions flattens the hair. Like very fine hairs, usually you can't even see it. When you use a product like this Maybelline spray, Maybelline? Yeah. Which is, in my mind, pretty much hairspray. Have you ever over hairsprayed your hair and it looks white and you're like, oh shit, now I need to wash it and start again? It's that idea. It's what's in that setting spray that's helping your foundation set is gripping to those hairs like this. So yeah, you're gonna see a lot of hair. There's nothing you can really do. It happens. She's not wrong. It happens. We can see, but that's what you can expect. The only thing you could really do after doing that is spray your whole face with a setting spray. Take a tissue in the palm of your hand and just very gently tap around the areas where you're experiencing that peach fuzz hair. Not so much that you're pressing directly onto the skin. You're kind of half press, half hovering, and that will pick up some of the hairs that are on the hair. That will pick up some of the products that's on the hairs. I wouldn't recommend fanning dry quickly or using a hairdryer because it will harden that stuff around the hairs in your face. But yeah, I can see that happening. I need to try that spray one day because some people love it, some people hate it. Okay, there's one more that I wanted to share with you, which again, I've added this one in myself because it's a trend that's going around right now. So this user isn't saying do this. She actually does a lot of tries different trends and kind of asks like, what's your opinion? What do you think on this? And this is a trend that's happening at the moment. Sorry I haven't powdered, by the way. My face is really shiny. I'm doing a wear test of a foundation. It says smile lines be gone. And this is this kind of trend at the moment where people are highlighting in areas that they want to cover, applying their concealer and then adding powder and saying, you know, look how much it hides it. I have done a reel about this and I'll insert it in here now if I have edited it and put it out. There's a makeup trend going around right now that is total BS, if I'm putting it bluntly. Not just like my opinion, but scientifically, there's no need for this extra layer, okay? You might have seen it. It's people taking a highlighter product and using it to kind of make these nasolabial folds less obvious or under their eyes less obvious. Let me demonstrate as to why this doesn't work. So you take your highlight product and let's say my eye here, you put your highlight down. So you get this like reflective layer. When you think about it, you're reflecting and bouncing light. They then put their concealer on top and blend that into the area. Bear in mind, this is gonna work differently if you are in front of a camera or if you're in real life. I just wanna point something out. Look how much detail you can see under my eye when something is reflective, right? You can see the hollows, depending where the light is catching, you can see everything. That's science. Light bounces off something reflective or glowy, and your eye can pick up more detail. They are then taking the powder and just mattifying that area, and then basically being like, wow, look how much that kind of highlight product helped. So what you have done is, you've added a glowy layer to then completely mattify it. Mattifying something absorbs light, so we can't make out, our eyes can't physically make out any more detail. So that's how mattifying can appear to give the appearance of smoothness. See what I'm saying? Why would you use a highlight product to then completely cover it with concealer, then further cover it and then mattify it? The science just isn't there. Not only that, but building another layer underneath something that could potentially crease and does crease on you is not good for creasing. It's gonna crease even more. The less product you can use on an area that creases, the better. And yes, it makes the area look really nice and glowy, but glowiness adds more detail. I'm just doing this side without the highlight underneath. So if you are trying to hide detail, to brighten, to smooth out hollows, you don't want to highlight. You want to do the complete opposite, which is mattifying. So you can see this is completely matte. It looks very smooth. I'm going to try and keep really still and show you what it looks like when we hydrate that area, when we have a glow to that area. Look. all that detail is back. When something is glowy, more detail. When we mattify, less detail. In this particular lighting, in this particular setup, right? It's fun to play with makeup and it's fun to experiment with it, but don't see this method and think, oh my gosh, that's the answer to my issue of whatever, you know? Okay, remember, makeup is a science. It interacts with the whole world. Our eyes, light, just like everything else. And I said what I wanted to say in that reel, so I hope that makes sense. If you see that online, it's a fun thing to try if you want to try it, absolutely, but don't think that it's going to help in any way. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me. Like I said, please do go over and follow me on Instagram. It's at RobertWLSH. Send me stuff over there. I'm very active over there in my messages, in my comments, on my stories, so it'll be nice to see you there, and I will see you very soon. Bye.